everybody, I'm Thomas Schermerhorn, and you guys are watching me draw the man versus... This is the part of the man versus giant project that I haven't really been working on. I called it quits on this one, and I just decided to combine all the videos that I've worked together. You guys saw this in my art topic series where I sort of talked about different topics in art. I don't know if I'm going to be bringing that back yet and so forth, but I really tried to think of structure here. I really tried to think of how I could construct this and what was the best way of constructing it. That's not perfect. I got some issues with the legs here, right? That I probably should have worked out, but I like how this went. The goal of this was to create some reference, right? And that's what I did, and that's why I actually stopped this, because I didn't want to go too far. There's a lot of detail that I put into this, and I think I was getting carried away, and not really knowing where to go and so forth, but also just knowing when to stop. What do I need to be able to call it quits for a photo that I'm just going to be using for reference, and so forth. And the goal was to get an idea of the light and the shadow and all the crumbling little elements within this destroyed city that this giant has claimed as his chair or as his home, right? So on and so forth, right? And then we have my favorite part of this drawing, honestly, is the little silhouette figure in the background, right? And the detail in the foreground that I was able to achieve. I should actually say in the foreground. Like, look how that pops forward. And the reason why I put that in there is because we needed a scale. If I didn't have that there, we'd think things were a little bit smaller. And so we needed a scale with that illustrates that this guy in the background is a giant, and the guy in the foreground is a human, so on and so forth. And that just makes everything a lot more readable to what I'm trying to achieve with the series. Look at all the detail I was able to do. This detail took so long, and there was a lot of layers, a lot of just playing around with this, and I think that it was starting to get muddy here. I wanted it darker. I should have switched to maybe a 6B or something. I believe this is an HB, and so forth. But a lot of things are changing with certain pencils, right? Like HBs are feeling like H's. I don't know. So on and so forth. I wish I layered this just a little bit more. I think the fact that I considered this to be a reference image made me go just a little bit lazy with it, right? But honestly, the bottom right gives me everything I need, in my opinion, of course, but maybe I should have went further with it. Also, another reason why I didn't carry it out was because I started on the right part of the page. I don't know why I always do this, because it would have been a lot more manageable for me if I started on the left of the page and I worked my way to the right, because I'm right-handed and so forth. And if I was left-handed, start on the left part of the page and work my way to the right side of the page. I believe that makes sense. Right. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. um, and whatnot. But yeah, a lot of this it was, you layer things, right? And you throw shapes down, and you have to really study references. I looked at a lot of references of destroyed buildings and rubble and rocks on the ground, and then I tried to simulate that rubble and those rocks and those crumbled buildings a lot, right? To really give it this effect of this is what's going on, this is what's happening, so on and so forth. Bet you guys never expected me to do a 20-minute video, but there was just so much in this that I wanted to cover and I wanted to talk about. The last thing that I do in this is I sort of play around with other types of destroyed, rubbled drawings, right? But throughout this image, throughout what I was doing, I was trying to think, how can I make things pop? I was trying to think of cast shadows and lighting. Where's the lighting coming from? You're going to see me change the lighting a multiple number of times because I just get it wrong so much, and then I forget about the lighting, right? I didn't have reference for this, and so there wasn't a whole lot I could go off of oh, this is what I want to do versus this is what I need to do, so on and so forth. Why this is upside down, I don't know. I must have forgot to flip this, but it's actually really cool. This is actually really useful to look at what I did right, what I did wrong, what do I need to do. Flipping the image can be very beneficial, and so forth. And I actually like how it looks upside down. Looking back at this now, I think that this is where I started deciding, maybe I should just call it for this, right? Because the problem with using a H pencil is it doesn't come off as very dark, and so a lot of the stuff we weren't able to see, right? And so I couldn't do a lot of stuff in the background, but then I realized that the stuff in the background, I don't want to have a lot of darks in there. I want them to be very faded. I want everything to not be as sharp. I don't want to bring the background forward. I want to bring the foreground forward, right? And so this way you have this sort of traveling point where you're traveling through the image and then out of it and then back in, and so on and so forth. And this just comes with learning how to compose an image, right? Which I'm still doing. I'm not saying that I know how to do whatsoever, and so forth. But when you're thinking about perspective, things that are closer to you, you should be trying to push forward, right? And things that are further back from you, you should be trying to let those fade out. They're not as important. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be thinking about them, but you don't want to, when you're using black and white, which is what I'm doing, you don't want to push things forward because it's going to make things seem flat, and you probably get that throughout this piece. Some parts just seem flatter than other parts because the lighting is off, and so on and so forth. I really just didn't know what to do with these feet. Feet are a problem for me. I get confused at them, right, when I start shading them. And it's probably just needing to look at a lot of reference, right? And then here I'm working on that. I like how this arm turned out, and I think I changed it a few times, right? I like how it looks, and I try to remember this cast shadow, but I also try to remember that this leg is there's fur on it, and I'm trying to remember that as I'm going through it. Working in some more details of this building that's in the foreground, trying to make this pop as much as I can, right? While also remembering where the lighting is coming from. I probably should have blackened things out just a little bit more so that the right side of the foreground could shine, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's fine, but certain parts of it just seem a little flat. Trying to define some of the mid-ground and the various buildings within it that were crumbled and had a lot of destruction within them. I really let my mind go in this and really tried to simulate various buildings that had been crumbled or destroyed. At this point, I'm not really thinking of shading. I'm thinking of what's going on within the image, what would go with on the image, so on and so forth. And like I said, the last thing I did was I finally decided to call it quits on that one, right? And play around with other types of ideas and things that might be happening within the scene or within a structure, right? What are the giants doing? What is going on with the different people and whatnot? I tried to play around with different silhouettes too. I was really thinking about here the structure and the right hand part, bottom part of the image that we just drew, and so forth, of what I was able to achieve with what I did and everything, right? The contrast, the smoothness, I really liked how that looked, and I wanted to try and re-achieve that. I don't think I was able to do that here. I'll probably revisit this type of thumbnailing in the future. Still playing around with this stuff, still trying to get it out there and get the best idea and design for the image that I want. Trying to remember the destroyed that this is a destroyed city, and there's rubble and different buildings being destroyed and crumbled and so on and so forth. People trying to hide and whatnot, and there's a real danger within this city right now. I wanted to place a big, huge building right in the middle. I like this one, and whatnot, and so forth. As I'm playing around with these and I'm getting the idea of what I wanted other people, maybe more people within it, more things happening, and I was just thinking of that as I went. And then the next thing I wanted to do was in the drawing at the beginning of the video, right? The first drawing you guys saw me work on, there were cars, and I'm not really good with drawing cars and vehicles, and so the next thing I did was I tried to play around with designing my own cars and so on and so forth, right? And at this point, knowing how to draw from real life doesn't matter. It's knowing how to construct real life, how these things are put together. How is a freighter put together? How is a gas tank put together? What is its structure? How is it built? And so forth. To be able to create your own unique designs and your own things, you need to be able to do this, right? And that's why we study anatomy, and that's why we study from life, but not just studying light and shadow and measurements, but also studying how things are put together, like the human figure, like a car, like a table, right? And then by knowing how these things are put together, then we can go in and we can construct our own variations of these things. Then it looks like I went back to trying to design more destroyed buildings, right? Trying to get the various different things straight and whatnot, working on that structure, right? And trying to design something happening here, right? Yeah. I think I got a lot of reference from this stuff too, because I really wanted to get the rubble in there, and I think afterwards I even found more reference after I did this, so that I just had something to go off of from memory, right? Nothing is really in perspective. Maybe the bottom left one is, right? But I just wanted some design within there so that we had something to go off of. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you thought about this video. I know it was really long. Tell me what you thought about it. Tell me what you think I should do next. And if you have any tips for me, let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to share with your friends. We'll talk about shape and form, planes, and how to practice it. But first I'd like to talk about the artwork in the background. As you know, it's a part of my Man vs. Giant series. My plan is to do 10 of these drawings. This is just one thumbnail. Because of that, I may halt some of my work on my YouTube videos to get some of this work done, because these take a long time to do. Just the thumbnails, right? Take a long time to do. And before I proceed to the finished work, I want to have a good idea of what I'm going to do with each one of them. If I do this, I promise to keep you guys up